particularly formidable challenge. In Iraq, deliberations over women's legal status have been as contentious as negotiations over how to structure the government. In Jordan, measures to increase penalties for so-called honor crimes faced strong resistance by ultra-conservative parliamentarians and ordinary citizens who believe that tradition and religion afford them the right to severely punish and even murder female relatives for behavior they deemed immoral. These debates are not just legal and fizzle off. What? Did I just read that correct? Okay, this is crazy. Today we are going to deep dive into rights of women where there kinda is no rights. Let me just reread that. In Jordan, measures to increase penalties for so-called honor crimes faced strong resistance by ultra-conservative parliamentarians and ordinary citizens who believe that tradition and religion afford them the right to severely punish and even murder female relatives for behavior they deemed immoral. These debates are not just legal and philosophical struggles among elites. They are emotionally charged political battles that touch upon fundamental notions of morality and social order. In order to provide a detailed look at the conditions faced by women in the Middle East and understand the complete complex environment surrounding efforts to improve their status, Freedom House conducted a comprehensive study of women's rights in the region. The first edition of this project was published in 2005. The present edition offers an updated examination of the issue with a special focus on changes that have occurred over the last 5 years. Although the study indicates that a substantial deficit in women's rights persists in every country in the MENA region. Okay, MENA is Middle Eastern North Africa, so whenever I say MENA, just know it, I mean Middle Eastern North Africa. Although the study indicates that a substantial deficit in women's rights persists in every country in the MENA region, the findings also include notable progress, particularly in terms of economic opportunities, educational attainment, and political participation. The Middle East is not the only region of the world where women experience inequality. In Asia, Africa, Latin America, Europe, and North America, women continue to face gender-based obstacles to the full realization of their rights. In the United States, women have come a long way since the Equal Pay Act of 1963 and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But even today, they earn roughly 23% less than men and make up only 3% of the Fortune 500 chief executives. It is, however, in the MENA region that the gap between the rights of men and those of women has been the most visible and severe. The country reports presented in this edition detail how women throughout the Middle East continue to face systematic discrimination in both laws and social customs. Deeply entrenched societal norms, combined with conservative interpretations of sharis, basically the Islamic law, continue to relegate women to a subordinate status. Women in the region are significantly underrepresented in senior positions in politics and the private sector, and in some countries they are completely absent from the judiciary. Perhaps most visibly, women face gender-based discrimination in based on religion and what a man deems a woman does is immoral. So basically, these are crimes that people get away with committing based on religion because they think that it is not okay for women to do certain things, so therefore she dies because of the crime that she committed. It's crazy. The FBL specializes us to know, and it's better that we become educated. A lot of the times, the algorithms are putting junk into our mind, and if you stumbled across this video, and if you understand English, this is great. If not, I also speak two other languages, and I'm willing to make videos in those languages. I speak Spanish and I speak Farsi. Bebakskid aga Inglesi baladid Farsi balanista maletunchtore. So, y también hablo español. También hablo inglés, así que me gustaría hacer muchos videos y también me gustaría aprender más lenguajes. But basically, all that to say that if you guys want to know